I call to order this meeting of USD 49 Board of Education for July 23rd, 2018. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. May I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll move to approve the agenda.
Paul, okay.
Second.
Thank you. Board Member Adams moved and Board Member Schwartz seconded. I open the floor for any kind of discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say nay. Okay, motion passes 7-0.
6.
Thank you, 6-0, corrections. Next item on the agenda is audience participation. I guess we'll have people participating at home. The next item on the agenda is communications from other organizations. The board will review communications from other organizations, including minutes and agendas. The one item listed is the Hayes Recreation Commission June and July meeting minutes. Do we have any discussion on that item? Lance, do I need to ask for a motion to approve that? Or? No, okay.
No.
Moving on to the next item on the agenda is school spotlights.
Like to end up sharing, we did end up getting a grant from the Dane G. Hansen Foundation that allowed the USD 489 Foundation for Educational Excellence $8,266, which purchased the audiometer and tympanometer for us to use with our nurses. And we use them pre-K through 12, so actually it's wonderful. We had a grant written by Karina Beam, the USD 489 Foundation Secretary, with the assistance of the current and former USD 489 nurses. It's wonderful to have some new equipment there to be using. That's the only spotlight.
That's it? Okay, thank you. Next item is report from the superintendent.
I have a few items I wanted to share. One is it was nice to have 3 board members in the training today. We had the KSB training for board members, and that was nice to have that many attend. We ended up having good news that our open enrollment for online for students was last week, and at this particular point, the estimate number is 650 have enrolled. So. Wow. We have enrollment starting on the 1st and 2nd, and have great excitement that maybe our online is working so well. We'll have well, I'd say we already have a significant portion that's enrolled, but we still have some time that we may have more than ever that's utilized the online part of it. So that's exciting. I would end up sharing too that many of the projects that we have planned every summer is being completed, and that's exciting. The large slab of concrete out the parking lot at the high school, and that air conditioning piece that's going on, our HVAC system, there at the high school is being completed. Things seem to be in time with what we were hoping. Especially since we're nearing August at this time. So that it's nice to end up seeing time frames working out, and we should be, at this point, it really should be ready with what we were planning with school starting.
Very good. I have a quick question for you, if you don't mind. That online enrollment, can folks pay fees for clubs and booster clubs with that as well?
I think they have it strictly with the enrollment at the moment is how they have it.
Okay, just wondering.
Yeah.
Okay. Any discussion about the superintendent's? Okay. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. We have 4 items on the consent agenda. We have the board meeting minutes for July 2nd, 2018. The approval of bills in the amounts of $1 million. $1,435,000, $771.23. I think you got what I meant there. Personnel transactions and financial reports, clerk's report, and investment report.
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Okay. We have a motion to approve and second. Any discussion? Nope. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, 6 of us. Anyone opposed? I guess that would be no. Okay. The consent agenda is approved, 6-0. Okay, moving on to old business. First item under old business is the board president appointments. I would actually ask for a motion to table this item for the next meeting as President Fox is not in attendance today.
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, hang on a second. We have a motion to approve and second. Any discussion?
We have so the date on the table to return is next board meeting. I prefer if we table something. give it-
Oh, okay, very good.
From the table.
I don't know if we want to do this formally. Greg, do you mind
Next meeting.
modifying the statement for next meeting?
I don't know when the next meeting is. So.
The 6th.
6th. So I guess officially the motion is to table this item until August 6th, the next board meeting. Okay.
All of them. Mine.
Still good on the second? Okay. Now I'll call for a vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? 0. Okay. The motion to table passes 6-0. Okay. The second item under old business is the Kansas Association of School Boards, KASB, policy recommendations. We are, go ahead, John. if you have
I
something
can
to add.
speak to it. I know
Yes.
that we had presented to the board at the last meeting. We ended up presenting this as well to the administration at our last meeting with all of them, asking for all these eyes to look at it, to share thoughts at this particular point. I hope it's good news that we haven't gotten, feedback. But at this time, if there's anybody that has thoughts or that, the feedback we were just hoping is to, if we needed to contact KSB or do any kind of work ahead of time to have that ironed out before the meeting. But if there is any thoughts or ideas in going through this, now's the time to end up sharing.
Very good.
Mike, you asked about the one section that had 2 options last time.
I did, and then I was actually as reading into it more, I understand that there's a couple options on the, if I remember correctly, one to approve the recommendations and one to disapprove the recommendations, but then provide the administration with alternative directions. Is that the same item? Do you remember?
I was thinking about the
I guess not.
recommendations to policy, like on one of them, on page 64 of the PDF, it was option
Oh,
1 or
yeah, that's
option
right.
2, and I thought John was going to contact them and ask them if we would adopt both options, so we're supposed to pick one. It doesn't really matter too much to me. I was just asking if that was ever looked at.
It
Anyone
was,
remember what I'm talking about?
I do, but
Yeah.
even at that meeting, I believe it was, the conversation went to it was really one option. We're going with the one option.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. I apologize. I don't remember exactly what I brought up last time, so. No, I
There's
think.
more than one with
Is it?
options. But GBO for resignations has option 1 and option 2. The other one had to do with collection of debts.
And that's what I'm speaking of, is
Yeah.
collection.
Oh, there we go, yes. Okay.
But shouldn't we pick an option 1 or an option 2 on each of those?
Looking here. Which was the other one? One was GPO and the other was...
I'm a little confused. Well, let's see. Unfortunately, I can't. Let's see. There we go. I'm sorry, I was on the wrong page earlier, so you said page 64 on it last time?
I think it's that second paragraph, so the real difference on GBO.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess the question would be, do we want to not allow them to be released until we find a replacement?
Well,
So I'm going to make a motion that we accept option 2 under GBO. Or that we move forward using option 2.
Why do you pick number 2? I'm just curious.
Well, because we didn't, it would have, with what we did this year, we wouldn't have followed it.
you have the page on the PDF?
I don't, it's
Okay.
GBO.
Yeah,
I'm looking online and there's no page numbers on mine, so.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Sorry.
I think it's 64, isn't it?
It's the end of page 63, the beginning of page 64.
Oh, I'm right there, yes.
Of the materials there.
Right, right. Yes, there we go. Okay. Option 1, board shall accept resignation from employees under contract. And option 2, the board shall consider licensed employees' resignation. So Greg, you're suggesting option 2?
I made a motion, there hasn't been a
Yes.
second, so it's,
Okay.
I don't know what.
I'll second it.
I guess John, is it your understanding we need to pick options 1 or option 2 on this section and other sections? Or,
I'm sorry, I'm not hearing what's clear at the other.
I'm sorry,
end. Someone else said something.
on this point, I mean, from what we're understanding, there are options in the document.
Right.
Is it your understanding that then we pick either option 1 or option 2 for each time there's an option?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure I'm tracking.
But I'm also saying, I don't know, I think Greg said it as well, it's more a matter of, the reason is to be consistent. You know, that's the purpose, identify it and work with that. But if you read through both of them, I think the issue is there's comfort with either one, just in being consistent.
And I don't, the only reason I said option 2 is because it's consistent with what we've done, but if we need that second paragraph, then I don't have a problem either way, but we just pick and move on.
One talks about until suitable replacements now, correct?
That's the,
And that's not there.
the first one,
For
right?
option 2, what we did add to the negotiate is the liquidated damages, so that matches more our current practice.
Okay. All right. Now, we do have a motion on the floor to select option 2 under, oops, I lost it, under GBO. Okay. Yeah, I'm not trying to rush this thing. Oh, they needed more time.
Nope.
Oh,
Nope. I was
Okay.
saying she made the second too.
Nope.
So
I'm sorry. Okay, let me write this down. We have a motion to accept the KASB recommended policy revision and additions, including selecting option 2 under the GBO section. Do we need any more further discussion on this? Okay, Go ahead.
I think it was just to approve that section. I don't know if there was,
oh, misunderstood.
I don't
Okay.
know if there was another section, there was an option, I looked through this, I don't see that.
No,
I
the
didn't
other
see-
one that was talked about, and Mike, you did bring it up at the last meeting, had to do with the insufficient funds. But I think we had identified that in our discussions at the last meeting. I mean, we had that identified, really needs to be
That
written.
it really is only option, or
Yes.
only one option.
Okay.
That's right.
Okay,
So the only option is the one you're voting on right now.
all right. So we're voting on this option and the entire set of revisions.
Sure.
We can do that at the same
I'll
time.
amend my motion to that.
Okay. So the motion is amended to accept the KASB recommended policy revisions and additions to include selecting option 2 under the GBO resignation license section.
Sophia?
Do you agree with that?
I
Concur with the second? Okay. Any more further discussion on this one? All right. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? All right, the motion passes 6-0. All right, now we're moving into new business. The first item on new business is board goals update. John, do you have some information on that?
Well, I just want to point out, we've done this for the last couple of years. It's not altogether new business. It's ongoing business of trying to identify, are we sticking with the goals that were identified 2 years ago? We ended up having 5 goals, trying to end up working with those and having them listed, trying to keep up with it. I'm going to go back to April of this year and just kind of go through that, because what has happened since April that really shows the progress or our link that we're still working to those particular goals. When we met 2 years ago and worked on those particular goals, we really talked about, well, how do we end up making sure we're staying focused on that and continuing to work, on the items that the board has identified most important with those goals. Why it's important at this point is because August 8th, we have a special board meeting, and at that meeting, we're going to then look at these again. How have these done? What changes might we want to make for the next number of years? That's going to be the work that's done August 8th. So really going through this right now would identify that in April, we've had with the goal of recruitment, retaining teachers, district fill several of the vacant teaching positions. Continuous tech cycle for replacement of new equipment was addressed then. We had bond issue. They hear presentation from Wente, from Dinkle and Wassinger on the vision team. Engage community members and link. Well, I've been going to facilities, attended a legislative coffee at the Fort Hays State University Robbins Center. These are all things that we try to end up just keeping track of that may tie to this. And it gives us, not just us, but it gives the building level administrators some direction as well. We've done the certified staff, attended the Fort Hays State University Mental Health Symposium, approved purchase of the devices at that particular time. We started really talking about the buzz-in systems for school front entrances, and that has continued to be in a spot where, that work's being done. It's not completely done. At this point, I'd say the only thing that's not been really done to have that system in place is still the auditory portion of it that needs to be done.
Okay.
We've had complete crisis drill, and that's in conjunction with TMP and Marion. A big change with crisis for everybody to know as this goes along is that's changed, where now we have 16 drills. 9 of them are going to be crisis drills. Only 4 are fire drills at this time. That's a big change. That has been, it's been 9 or 10 forever, and now it ends up being just 4 and 3 tornado drills. So there's got to be a couple drills a month is what's going to happen to get them all in place. We end up having DLT members, the district leadership team members, attending visitation for KISA accreditation, and that was at Smoky Hills in Salina. I'm still in April, so we had trauma sensitive school committee had met. We had Assistant Superintendent Dinkle attended the Ellis County Health Needs Assessment at the First Care Clinic. We end up having elementary principals from all 4 grade schools placed kindergarten students. So they were doing that in April, of working to identify where they would go. There was work to identify utilization of ELL resources as effectively as possible. I mean, and I'm trying to identify, well, there's still a few more in April. May, you end up having still a little bit of repeat of identifying the buzz-in systems. We ended up having the prepare crisis training for educational staff, and that was for Hayes, Holy Family, TMP, La Crosse, Plainville. We ended up having the county fire, rural fire, HPD, High Plains Mental Health. All of those were part of that. We're using our system for emails that are sent out to all parents, and trying to make arrangements that we have that system as effective as possible, so that they're going out to everybody at this point. We end up having ages and stages training for kindergarten teachers and administration. Let's see. Into June. In June, we ended up having, again, some number of opportunities for professional development. We had the leadership teams go to Hutchinson for their foundations training, and that's been ongoing for the last, well, we're in the 2nd year of those trainings. Summer reading camp was held for the 120 students at O'Laughlin and Wilson, which ended up being very successful, and that was grant money that provided all of that. Oh, it was all 4, yeah, it was all 4. I think the most important thing in going through this as we scroll through it is to see that we're trying to identify accountability with the goals that are set. To end up having the embarrassment of allowing a couple years pass and say, well, we don't really even know what the goals are. How are we tied to that? It could even be worse than that, than identifying what's the mission statement. You know, what are we supposed to be about? And this was to try to tie into that as we end up meeting and discussing this. Now, within each one of the goals, there are different objectives that we kind of attended to, of saying, well, what fills out or fleshes out each particular goal. But I'd say we would do much the same on the 8th, you know, when we're working on this, to identify. There doesn't have to be 5 goals. It could be 3. It could be 4. It's just a matter of how you end up wanting to address this, and trying to be as productive and effective as in leading the changes that should be made in our school district. So I would ask you end up questions that you would have of this. I have every intention to continue this with the new goals that would be identified then.
Right. Very good. That's a lot of information on here, and I would imagine some of our discussion might be, well, if some of these goals have been met, maybe it's time to replace them with other goals, or not. Some of these are ongoing. Actually, they're all ongoing, so we might want to keep
Well,
them.
you can have 20.
Yeah.
No, you can't have. That's just ridiculous. But I'm saying you can identify 20 goals.
Yeah.
The thing is, you're trying to identify priorities at this particular given time
Yeah.
of what you're trying to focus on. And that should be what you're really working towards at this time. In some ways, it would be, it's for the Board of Education just as much so, because you end up having terms that are 4 years. So if you have goals that are identified in the shorter sense of those goals of what can be done during that particular time, and they can be long-term. You can have a goal that just continues on and on. I mean, it just gets repeated because it has to. But it really should give the guidance as to what is the most priority at this time, and we should really be, if you have, let's say 3 goals that are identified, and then you really do this tracking over the next year, And 2 goals, you're able to identify many, many things being done, and the third goal, you kind of realize nothing's being done there. That should be an indicator that you need to question that. You need to go back to it and say, how come? If it's a priority and you're not really getting anything listed there, why are you doing no work or having no agenda items or nothing's really being accomplished in that particular area?
Just a general question. How well have we gotten this out to the community at large?
We ended up making copies for the buildings on the entrance so that the
Right.
buildings have that. We've had the updates with our meetings, you know, every 3-4 months is when we end up having updates. But as far as really having documents that are out there in the public, we've not done beyond that to end up sharing it. That's not,
But a citizen could go to the website,
Yes.
find this all updated, they so wanted to.
yes.
It already is.
Okay.
That's-
Yeah, sure.
So
Yeah.
a citizen can go find it if they want it. I just want to be sure we remind them of that.
I think he's saying that for you.
Yes, it was.
It was, there was a reason for that. Huh?
There was a reason.
All righty. Any further discussion on, or questions about the goals update? Okay, as we move on to the next item under new business, pre-enrollment class projections and enrollment update. From Shanna?
Yes, I can talk a little bit about that. In the attachment, I just shared with you where we are as far as grade level projections. You can see there at the elementary level, second grade looks like it'll be our largest class. The elementary really last year and this year fluctuates quite a bit. Last year, if you remember, we had a colored spreadsheet where we closed sections when they meet their maximum so that we keep classrooms evenly distributed. There's less red slots this year, this time than there were last year. So throughout the year, we've had some fluctuation there at the elementary school. So those numbers are down from this point last year at the elementary. The middle school, you can see our largest class is at 8th grade. Some of our smaller elementary classes a few years ago are now working their way through the middle school. They project overall they'll be about a 10 possibly when it's all said and done.
Okay.
And then the high school is seeing an increase. Their projections from last year of about 30, 40. So overall though, with those elementary, where we were last year this time, it looks like we're down about 30, but it's so hard to know. Right now, we have had a lot of new families, and those aren't, we don't do anything in putting them in the system until we get to enrollment time. Because
Right.
now we know they're here and they come through the process, we're not going to get them in the system. So new families need to come to enrollment, put those dates on their calendar, August 1st and 2nd. And then we'll also have a better idea who doesn't show up.
Right.
Who has moved on that maybe we don't know about. Those are easier to clean up as we get word that they're leaving. So that's kind of, well, that is where we are as far as numbers. Sarah has put, for everyone in the public to know, there is an enrollment link on our page that has all the information, as John mentioned earlier. We have had good turnout so far with the online enrollment, about 22%. The instructions, you know, it's step by step. So if anyone didn't get the email, forgot where they put it, Sarah, I believe you have the instructions for the online, everything's at that link, can be found at our district website, correct?
Correct, yes, it's right above the Power School link for the instructions.
Okay. And so we will have 2 days of central enrollment this year. We had 3 last year, but we felt like we could reduce it to 2. And so just a reminder, August 1st and 2nd, that will be taking place.
Okay. Very good. All right, any questions or comments for Shanna?
Yeah, Shannon, I do have one question. Next time, maybe include a sheet that would show last year's 20-day count or whatever, or whatever, just so I get it, because I don't remember where we were last year, but it'd be nice to know.
Well, and that's why we were looking at probably 30 down.
Right.
The thing with September 20th is we get a lot of our special ed on like our kids into our system. So we try to pull out co-op students that aren't really our USD 489. We service title. So numbers can get really fuzzy. So trying to really compare points in time from now to last year, I'd say our projections are down 30, but when you add in all the other things, it's why it's hard to do that, to know what's included and what's not, because I want us to compare apples to apples.
Yeah.
I can send you that. Again, it's going to be hard to compare to now, because what we're looking at now are our own kids.
Right.
Not any of those extra numbers that we put into the September 20th count.
Okay.
I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. So maybe it is just where it may have been after summer enrollment.
I tried to compare projections now to last year's projections at this time without all of the extra FTE and numbers that get included into that September 20th.
Okay,
count,
that would
because
be a useful chart.
fluctuates.
It'd be helpful just to have the September 20th count
Yeah.
with those others pulled out, or a projection of what over the last 5. I was going to go a step further than him. I was going to ask for 5 years instead, just because 1 year doesn't really give you a trend, but 5 years does. And I'd like to see the other side of it too. We used to get, and you probably are the only other one here that remembers that, maybe Bill, but we used to have a projection looking forward of where we're going to be over the next 3, 4, 5 years, because that's and that goes into a lot of planning aspects, probably more so than where we were, but just where we're going.
Well, there's the September 20th, but then there's also our audited count, because that's different than our September 20th. So September 20th is what we say we claim, but then when we have the audit in April, that's what we actually get funded. So
And that's probably the more accurate.
Right, it
that'd
probably,
be a good one.
if you
It
want
is,
to know actual, it might be looking at our audit report from the last couple of years.
So maybe having that for the strategic planning
Yeah.
would be that would be the.
Well, and that would be easy to get. The audited numbers are set, and we can give you that, and it's definitely more accurate.
And even if we've got to have
Sure.
a line item that says it was 3,400, but 400 of those were outside of the district, or whatever, it's probably not that big of a number, but whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, because she's saying the audit is going to have everybody, and if we say, well, we estimate 30 of those kids were special ed from around the region or whatever.
No, I'm sorry, just, my thoughts kind of clouded there because of that grant for those couple years where we were getting paid with the set number of kids that we had the year previous. So we need to check, I need to check that. That could be a little bit of a complicator. We had a couple years there that the state was really paying us for a number that wasn't really what our students were of that particular year.
I looked at those, I did pull the audit when I was putting this together to see if there were any same numbers I could share. We didn't have like ELL those years, so some things were not audited because we didn't get the extra funding. But I think the head count and some of the FTEs
Was the
were
same.
consistent.
Okay.
So we should be able to pull some of those.
Even if not, we can asterisk those and say these were our numbers and they
Right.
weren't audited.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would like to point out in that information, those numbers, 2 years ago when we were looking at the high school had the smallest number classes.
Right.
Actually, at one point, I think the first months I was here, none of those were even at 200. I think all of them were under 200. And so looking at that, you're seeing that change. It's 11th and 12th grade have the two smallest grades, classes in the whole K-12 system. So that's being kind of pushed out. The following year, you would see a bigger number. That 8th grade's 238. So, you know, you can look at that, seeing how that's having some effect.
We will have an enrollment, and a lot of our families who have incoming kindergartners should have received information about the ages and stages questionnaire and survey that we are asked to give, or for them to fill out the survey for their kindergarten students. So we'll have that available at enrollment as well. We sent out the survey so that they can get familiar with them and know the information, and then we'll ask them to complete that online. And they should be receiving information from their schools that they can come up and do that if they can't do it at home or want some assistance. And we will have some stations set up at enrollment, so August 1st and 2nd.
Very good. Very good. Okay, any more discussion about the enrollment numbers? Okay, we'll Moving on to the next item on the agenda, Special Education Cooperative Update from Chris.
Thank you. Just want to give a quick update, I guess, kind of 3 different topics. So staffing, staff development, programming, some of the things we've got going on, and finally budget. Staffing, I'll tell you that when I came in, we had 5 or 6 positions that were still open, which is a tough spot to be in come July. We've gotten a lot of those filled. There's still a couple that we're working on right now. And we've had to use waivers and what's called a new thing now. We've got our first apprenticeship license. But so with a waiver, we're taking someone who would be a licensed teacher, and then they agree to go back and start working on their master's degree, and we provide them supervision and get them certified as we're going. The apprenticeship license is new this year to us, and working with Fort Hays. If we've got someone who has a bachelor's degree and they've worked at least a year as a paraeducator, then we can send them back to school. They start working on their master's. We provide, again, some guidance and supervision, and are able to employ them that way. So with that comes the opportunity to hire good people that you want, but they don't have the training necessarily. So one of the things that we're looking at staff development-wise is we'll be implementing what we're calling our Special Education New Teacher Academy. So we're taking our new folks and our waiver and now apprentice licensed folks, and we'll be doing really hands-on mentoring and training with them, along with the district mentoring plan that's in place, really to focus around 3 things: specialized instruction to meet students with disabilities, meet their needs, progress monitoring, so goes along with that specialized instruction, how do we know what we're doing is working, and finally, writing quality IEPs, so putting together quality plans for those kids. We're going to have a couple of different pieces to this New Teacher Academy, or Special Education New Teacher Academy. One of them will be classroom-based, so once a month we'll be getting together and bringing in some of our quality special education teachers that we have around, and I will be doing some of the training, Kyle will be doing some of the training, but we'll be meeting with those new folks once a month to help a lot with the process things, IEP, writing the goals, things like that. And then we're also going to be pairing them up with what we're calling our Special Education Teacher Growth Partner to help with some of that instruction and meeting those individual kids' needs. So we'll be putting those things in place. Our first round will be actually August 6th. So we've got all new teachers coming in on August 6th, and we're going to spend a little extra time that day keeping our new special ed folks. Other staff development that we have going on is we'll be bringing in all of our special education staff throughout the co-op on August 13th, so the day before the first in-service for staff, and really running through some of the updates to our IEP program and looking at good programming, progress monitoring, things like that. So that's exciting. What I feel like are exciting staff development stuff coming up. As far as programming, one of the things that we're really going to focus on, I think, this year is that progress monitoring piece to help with general education interventions and providing good instruction, getting good quality feedback. And so one of the things I'm excited about is the district uses EduClimber. Kyle, who's our special education coordinator, is going to be going to their national conference. And we're looking at ways to utilize that to help put good quality programming in place. So that'll be a focus as we go throughout the year. So kind of keep you updated on that. Finally, budget piece. We're started our special education FTE, our how we get funded based on the number of teachers. That audit started today. It'll run most of the week this week. As far as categorical aid for last year, it dropped a little bit, about $400 right at the end of the year, based on the number of teachers that got put into the pot. So basically, special education, we get paid based on the number of teachers, but it's not like that piece of that pie grows or shrinks. KSDE or the state says, this is how much money you have, and it gets divvied up by however many teachers and paraeducators there are throughout the state. And so at the last minute, so we had people that didn't keep up with their reporting, and about it amounted to about a $400 drop in what we expected categorical aid to be. But the estimates, CAT aid estimates for this year, for FY19, are up fairly significantly. So we're looking at about $30,610 per FTE in special education. So we had to carry over to handle the drop this year. It looks like next year should kind of make up for that. Last thing I've got is we're in the process right now of applying for what we call our Pathways Targeted Improvement Plan grant. So it's a little piece of state money. It's about $34,000, but a lot of that will be going to our teacher training. You have to use it for innovative initiative kinds of things. You can't supplant your regular funding. You can't use it to pay for things you've already been doing. So we're going to be looking at using a lot of that money to help with the new teacher academy and some of the different training things that we've got going on, as well as some of the software pieces that we use, our IEP program and some other instructional pieces. So those are the special education co-op updates.
All right.
Happy to field any questions.
Any questions from anyone? All righty. Well, I want to say thank you for your fine report, and you certainly seem like you have your handle on things, and we appreciate that. And welcome to USD 49. I'm not sure we said that to you yet, so very good. All right, the next item on the agenda is the Lewis Field Stadium Facility Use Agreement. Now, I understand that we are just discussing the agreement right now, and we will be voting to renew later. Is that correct?
Well, actually, what's
Or
odd, that's
we need
my
a vote.
question even.
Okay.
As far as, it's been on that in the past, the question is, as far as voting on it to continue, there is an increase. It's $100 per event. So it went from $2,400 to $2,500 per event. So that's a change in it. And definitely there needs to be that understanding of it. But I really put it there as much for my own understanding of purpose of year to year, an agreement. Does the board wish to end up continuing to see this process with, we end up having it from the standpoint of an ongoing agreement that exists. It's existed for numerous years. We have it there. I know that there's been the request of trying to make the agendas as lean as possible, as far as timeline. But is this something that no matter what, year to year, even if there aren't changes in the future, you want to end up having this as a discussion item, as having it listed?
You're saying instead of consent agenda.
Right. Because it could be consent agenda.
Do we put contracts on the consent agenda? Maybe we do, I don't remember.
I think you can.
I'm not saying we can't, I'm just curious if we had.
I'd ask Bill if it's,
You can put anything on the consent agenda, and then if there
The
needs to be debate on a specific issue, you can pull it out.
I see.
Just takes one request, right?
That's right.
So you're saying adding it as a separate line item, if there is, a change one year or whatever else, pointing that out, but otherwise,
yeah, if,
stuff consent agenda.
it's fine to have it here.
Sure.
It's just a matter of saying, in the future, would it serve just as well to have it on the consent agenda? Now, there's a difference to it this year. There's the added $100, but I'm saying for quite a number of years, it was the same. There was no change with it. And with that, our relationship with the activities department at Fort Hays State University has been solid. That's just not been a question. I'm just saying, to me, it seems like it could be on the consent agenda versus its own agenda item in the future. That's all I'm saying. Now, if there's a complication, if there's some kind of relationship glitch that's going on, anything like that, of course it needs to be a separate item, but I'm just posing it.
And I don't know that I have any objection to that. I'm just trying to think of other contracts. You got the Hayes Med swimming pool contract would be in the same light. I think there's the Eagle.
There's 2 or 3 of them, yeah.
There,
And I'd agree, and I'd be bringing this up with some of them as well.
Well, I guess what I would propose, if you want to go down that road, is to put together some policy about, to me, it would make sense if you had a dollar amount maybe, and, you know, non-personnel contracts, things like that, or, well, I guess those fall under that too, but I'm just concerned about things getting slid in that you
Yeah,
don't anticipate, and
Well, I would say if there's changes to it, you might want to have it as an agenda item
Separate
anyway.
item.
But I'm just saying, this Lewis Field one, I understand, was identical for years.
like on this one,
And-
even if it had been on there, if it's $100 difference, I don't know that it's worth
Oh.
its own line item. If there's, you know, a significant paragraph or something that
Right.
Yeah, makes sense.
Okay. Well, any questions about the $100 increase, the change, the contract as it is? If there's any discussion on it, that's really maybe more important at this point. I mean, we're getting very close to football season getting
You
started.
know how, it was at $2,400 per event in the past. How many years ago was that? Has it been 10 years, that same rate? Or do you
It
know?
goes beyond 10 years, but
Okay.
I don't know, I never did catch the number. I think we went at least 10 years with it being
So-
that same amount.
I guess I'm not surprised that it went up by $100 per event.
Yeah,
That's
that,
all the time.
I never did,
I think it
Yeah.
that when I've been on board in '03, so
so that'd be 15 years ago, or 12, 14 years ago.
if it changed, it was just right around that time.
Okay.
Personally, I think I'd rather see agreements and things like that not in the consent agenda.
To have what?
Have it not part of the consent agenda. I think that's just what I would prefer.
Okay.
Okay.
It is
Well, that's what
mundane.
I mean, that's what I'm asking.
Mundane.
Yeah. But at the present time, it looks like we will need to vote on this at some, like
Yeah,
next
at the
next
next
meeting.
meeting,
yes.
We'll vote on
the
this.
6th.
And then we can have some more discussion if we,
Okay.
I assume
Technically-
someone will make a motion to move this to the consent agenda.
Technically, that item doesn't need board approval anyway, because it's under 20,000, so.
Ah, okay.
Okay. We'll have it on the agenda on the 6th for action then,
Okay,
that time.
sounds good. All righty. Moving on to the next item,
Sure.
the Wilson Elementary Playground Equipment Purchase Approval.
That, if you look at it, you're talking 70-some thousand dollars is being used to put new equipment there. I want to point out something, though. It's been in the making all along, and this is something would have really preferred to have had presented a couple months ago. But even the last board meeting was when we were, or maybe it was 2 back, but just recently was that grant money that was part of it as well. So there's grant money, there's money that's really Wilson's money that they've been trying to end up planning for this and have it in place. Sounds like an awful lot of money, and it is, but it's been money that's been planned and worked for by the site to try to make this happen. At this particular time, the timing can still end up working. The last playground equipment was Lincoln, and if you remember, Lincoln ended up getting that grant that was really a significant grant, $100 and some thousand is what it was to put in. And the timeline, I think, is still very workable, but and it would help in the process of trying to have assurances that it's in place before school, that this is addressed as soon as possible. So
Can they-
that's why it's there.
So this is towards the end of July. If they can construct this by the beginning of the school year?
Well, there's plans at this point, yes. It
Or at
can be-
least get it, okay.
Right.
gotcha. Get it started, I guess. Go ahead.
I'll make the motion.
Okay.
We made the motion.
All right.
Move to approve purchase and installation of playground equipment for Wilson Elementary School in the amount of $78,354.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I guess I do have discussions. That includes installation, is that?
Mm-hmm.
Is there a professional installer that comes in and
Right.
does it? So, all right. So it's not going to
Right.
divert our, all right.
And to reiterate, John, that there's no money coming from the district portion on that.
That's
all
right. It's been
funds that are-
building based. It's just, the issue there is I would have, It's just that they were accumulating that money even going into the summer and that grant money helped with it as well, and they were trying to get that in place. I can tell you there's another elementary school trying to do the same at this time. I think there's over $40,000 that's being kind of accumulated to try to do the same of improving some playground equipment at another elementary.
Wow.
You're not going to see that before this coming school year, but
Right.
I think in the 18-19, you'll see something come this direction with it as well.
Very good.
What happens to the old equipment?
Well, I can tell you that there's one piece, it's a very small piece. It's at one time, I understand Wilson must have had preschool in that area at one time, because there's a piece that's small and they could utilize it at Roosevelt. So I think we're planning on moving it, and that'll be our crew that's going to end up relocating that and move a small piece of it over there that they can utilize it for the really small children. There will be some that's changed that will be, I believe, will be disposed of, though. So.
Okay. Okay, any more discussion on this item?
I just have one.
Sure.
I'm not opposed to the equipment, but I am going to vote against it based on the timing of it.
Okay, you want to elaborate on the timing issue?
Well,
Like,
just that-
too soon before school? or-
No, that we're getting it at the last minute, and we're having to act on it at the last minute.
Ah.
Rush to decisions, it seems like.
I see. All righty. I'm going to call for a vote. All those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye. Aye. So that's, I believe that's 5. All those opposed say nay. And 1. Okay, the motion passes 5-1. Okay, next item on the agenda is discussion by board members and agenda requests. Any agenda requests at this time that we haven't talked about already? All right. Any further discussion about some issues that we haven't discussed or we have discussed?
I attended that session this morning for KASB, and one thing I thought was interesting that they brought up is boards doing their own self-evaluation once a year. And I was talking to everyone who was there, and
okay.
that's something I guess we haven't done before, was do our own self-evaluation, or haven't done it for a few years. So it's piqued my interest a little bit, and you can get KSB out here to do that type of evaluation with you.
Very good. Have you had much experience with that, John, of your previous places of having the board evaluate
Well, when it's
themselves?
only through KSB doing it. I mean,
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Right.
What's the cost involved in that?
That I don't remember.
I'm sure there's
I
costs.
need to, I'd have to check on it.
All right.
I mean, you don't have to have them, you can do it yourself, but I'm just saying that what I have experience was with KSB was involved in it.
Mark Don.
Yeah, we can. It's true, we can do that. Not me, but we can.
At a discount rate.
At a discount, yes, of course. Do you want to make a request to discuss that further, or put it on the agenda for future, or do you just want to explore the issue more?
Well, I'll at least inquire
Okay.
and find out some more
That's-
information. I can do that.
So do you want to, I think it's just, I've got some comments on it, but I don't want to bring it up now, unless if it's going to be an agenda, I won't bring it up then.
I won't have it on the agenda at the next, I'm just gonna gather information.
That's all we asked for.
Yeah.
Okay. So you don't want to, okay. All right, the next item on the agenda is executive session. Do we need to have an executive session today?
I just have a very little information to share, and when I say that, I mean, it really could be 5 minutes, but I do need to have probably 10 minutes at the most with the board.
Okay. 7:40, 7:45. 5, 10, 15, 20. Okay. I moved that the Board of Education recess into executive session along with the Superintendent, Board Attorney, Executive Director of Finance and Support. Nope, not here? Okay, scratch that. Director of Special Education?
Yes, please.
Second motion.
I'm not finished yet. To discuss matters relating to employer-employee negotiations and, did I miss Shanna? Sorry. Let me start over. I move that the Board of Education recess into executive session along with the superintendent, assistant superintendent, board attorney, and director of special education to discuss matters relating to employer-employee negotiations, whether or not in consultation with the representative or representatives in the public body or agency, KSA 75-4319B3, with the open session to resume in this room at 7:45 PM.
Let's wait. No, we don't need that much time.
7:36.
I was giving us time to walk up and down. Okay, 7:40. I'm old, I mean, okay.
Why don't we just kick everybody out and do it here?
We can do that too. I say 7:40? 7:35?
I'm comfortable with 7:35. I really
7:35,
did need
okay.
5 minutes. I really don't need much
Do I
time.
need a motion for this? Second? Second?
I'll second whatever you say.
No discussion? All those in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? No? Okay. Motion passes 6-0.